one of 34 Dodge 330 1963 factory aluminum lightweight.
And it's the first carburetor I've kind of rebuilt.
Welcome back to Goldberg's Garage. It's 1963. You want to go head-to-head down Woodward Avenue against the major manufacturers in your hot rod vehicle. What do? Well, if you're lucky enough to live next to one of the major Dodge dealerships, you walk in and you order yourself a 1963 Dodge 330 factory aluminum lightweight. Okay, the question is, what makes a car a super stock? Well, back in the day, the major manufacturers wanted to go head-to-head down Woodward Avenue in Detroit, and they had to put their best foot forward on the drag strip next to the other manufacturers. V8 power, lightened chassis, it's bare bones vehicle, and starting in 1963, it's acid dipped parts for your vehicle. This is a 1963 Dodge 330 factory aluminum lightweight. What makes it an aluminum lightweight car is this. Fenders are aluminum. The front grille is aluminum, acid dipped. Same with the front bumper. Same with the front valance. Because I know I had to replace it, it was $3,200. Another thing that made these cars what they were and defined them as super stocks were a couple little tricks that the manufacturers would do to make them more lightweight. As you can see, heater delete, air conditioner delete, basically everything delete. No power steering, there's no battery in the engine compartment. It was relocated in the rear of the vehicle. Another reason this car was very special was that it came with a 727 push-button automatic transmission. Imagine going down the drag strip at 110 miles an hour and taking your hand off the steering wheel so that you can press a typewriter type mechanism to shift gears. The story kind of goes something like this. I go to Barrett-Jackson to buy a 1970 black Coronet 440 six-pack automatic car. It's been on Goldberg's Garage before, you know it well. As I walked to go view that car for the first time, I saw in the distance a red and white striped Dodge 330. It was the first time I had taken my wife to Barrett-Jackson, and I wanted to actually, to be perfectly honest with you, take her up close to show her how ugly this car was. We get up to the car, we look at it from top to bottom, from front to back, and the owner asks if I would be willing to drive it on stage. Ulterior motive. I obliged and taught me how to switch gears. So I pull up on stage, I get out of the vehicle, the bidding starts, the bidding kind of stalls. So I look around and I raise my hand. Unbeknownst to me, I was the final bid, and I got lucky enough for $89,000 to purchase this one of 34 Dodge 330 1963 factory aluminum lightweights. In the Chrysler Registry, this is number 4 of 9 vehicles, and it is the only car that came originally equipped with a 3-speed floor shift manual. The exterior was painted in black, interior was red. This is the original interior. All the body panels are numbers matching. Galen Govier went over this car from top to bottom. Drivetrain is not original. 99% of those original drivetrains in these vehicles back in the late 50s to the late 70s were blown up. So to have an original drivetrain in one of these vehicles is almost impossible.
Garage would be complete without a 63 lightweight super stock car.
I was fortunate enough to take this down the drag strip at Norwalk to race against Charlie Blankenship. And it was one hell of a cool experience. It's something that I'm going to recreate. The next episode that we have the Candymatic on, we're going to take it down the drag strip, and we're going to try to top that 10.2 number they originally posted for this back in the day. Ron DeMarco was the person who purchased this vehicle and got it ready for the NSS class, which is the nostalgic superstock class. Pretty much came into prominence in the like 1980, when old superstockers like Arlen Vanke would go out at NHRA events and do an exhibition run down the drag strip. It caught so much attention and was obviously so popular that the NHRA started opening up a number of classes for superstocks. So they might have started back in the late 50s, but they live on today in 2024.
Well, I'm going in. That carburetor is going over here, and it is going to be my first carburetor rebuild on the Candymatic, no less. God help me. Well, call me stupid, but one of the carburetors is there off of that, and it's the first carburetor I've kind of rebuilt, so.
Okay, when you're collecting a car, quite obviously you want as much documentation as humanly possible. And I'm fortunate enough to have some great documentation, whether it be, you know, the original leaflets or handouts, show and shine tags at the Holly reunion back in the day. I've got the Barrett-Jackson contract of sale for the vehicle, bought it in 2006. Got the picture of myself crossing the stage at Barrett-Jackson, courtesy of Haggerty. Thank you very much. As I said, the vehicle is in the Chrysler Registry. It's the only 3-speed known to man. Original operating instructions manual, 1963. That in and of itself is pretty rare. Got a photo of me going down the drag strip at Norwalk, and I actually just found out that the time slips are right here. What do you think I ran? Oh, 11 flat, 119 miles an hour. That's not very fast, but we'll top it the next time you see it on Goldberg's Garage. So continuing on with the documentation, there's a number of magazines that have the Candymatic, the Ram Charger vehicle in it. Obviously, Hodges Dodges and the Ram Chargers were the guys to beat back in the day. I've got to find out the exact history, find out if truly this car was a Ram Charger backup car, because if that's the case, then the value went up on it exponentially. Little history lesson. There was once a driver for Dodge back in the early 60s, and he was also a corporate lawyer. His name was Al Ekstrand. Does that name sound familiar to any of you who have been in Goldberg's Garage before? I'll tell you why it sounds familiar. Al Ekstrand was a corporate lawyer for Chrysler. He drove cars just like this. Early 60s Max Wedge cars, Hemi cars. He had a brilliant idea one day. He was tired of the servicemen and women going off to Vietnam, risking their lives, coming back, spending $3,500 and buying a 450 horsepower car and wrapping themselves around a telephone pole. He took it upon himself to develop a team that went overseas to teach the servicemen and women how to drive, basically. He approached the Dodge brass and they didn't want to do the tour. So Mr. Ekstrand abruptly quit racing for Dodge, quit Dodge altogether, and approached Ford to see if they'd want to back the tour. Ford snapped it up immediately. That's why you remember on the side of my Boss 429, it says Lawman. So look back in the archives, you'll see Mr. Ekstrand driving a number of these early B-body Max Wedge cars with the livery of Lawman on the side of it. So a little FYI. Okay, that does it for another episode of Goldberg's Garage. Sorry it was a little anticlimactic because I know all of you, like myself, want to see this thing going down the drag strip. But in real time, we developed a couple issues along the way. So Holly and MSD has hooked us up to rectify these issues. We're going to get all these parts installed, get her further prepped, get her on the drag strip, and post it for you. See you then. Welcome back to Goldberg's Garage. It's night. That was interesting.